Hello Reformers, and welcome back to Gekokujo 3.1. Now, when we left off, we had just, eliminated a couple of the vassals in the area, because they're obviously going to be quite annoying to deal with if we decide to lay siege to something, which is what we have exactly done here. Now, obviously, this is the castle with 254 defenders. I thought that I might try to take the town, but as it stands, there's 3 different vassals there, and including Great Lord Nanbu himself. So I was just like, yes, probably not the best idea. So we are instead going to try and take this. And as you can see, it's actually not that bad. Well, obviously we do have the inevitable gates to deal with and everything like that, but as you can see, there's only like a bunch of, there's only a handful of enemies on the battlements here, and I was a little bit anxious to get those guys down as quickly as possible. Now, I know that we don't actually have to hit the gates, we just have to stand next to them, which is actually really nice. I quite like that. I like that mechanic, because hitting away at a gate is, I don't know, I mean, that's the thing. Hitting away at a gate with a sword when the gate is supposed to be like really reinforced, it's probably not the most realistic thing. So it's quite nice that there's a little bit of a difference there. I think that's probably the first mod I've seen that has done it in the sort of proximity sense, which I feel is much better, should I say? Yeah, I think personally it's much better than hitting it, because hitting it is a little bit unrealistic, because obviously some of these gates are extremely well reinforced, and why would that be? Why would a sword be capable of actually, dealing with that and actually dealing any damage to it? I mean, you need siege equipment, obviously, and we don't have any siege equipment, obviously. So yeah, anyway, the point is, I think that's a really nice mechanic, and I'm really happy to see that. I don't know whether Marty came up with that, because Marty is the original creator of Gekokujo, but I don't know whether he came up with that, or if someone else did it, or whatever, but the fact is that Gekokujo in general, and I'm going to gush a little bit, about how I personally feel like Gekokujo is one of the most innovative, even though it doesn't really give you too many, unique gameplay mechanic. It doesn't add anything, that's the thing. It doesn't add anything, with the exception of all of the units, of course, and all of the different changes and things, but fundamentally the gameplay remains the same, which is actually really good, because the gameplay of Warband is not bad, it's not terrible, and it doesn't really need to be changed that much. It just needs to be enhanced. And I know there are other mods, there are other mods like Floris Expanded and, well, a number of others that actually do change the difficulty and change the gameplay a little bit, the gameplay aspects and things. But, I think that the setting really helps Gekokujo to stand out from those, because obviously it being in Calradia, I mean, yeah, Calradia is an absolutely fine, fictional land, and it's perfectly fine to spend however much time you like there. However, Calradia does get a little bit tiring sometimes, and you like a little bit of a change. And that's where Gekokujo comes in, because obviously with Floris Expanded and everything, it adds a whole bunch of extra gameplay mechanics, but it doesn't really change anything other than, giving you more options with, doing things within the native constraints. But Gekokujo, what it does, even though it doesn't have the complex gameplay mechanics like, for example, Nova Eatus might have, because obviously Nova Eatus has that sort of, what is it, like a nobility system? It has the nobility system where you can gain, what is it now? It's not honor and it's not renown, but it's one of the other things. I can't remember the actual resource, what it's actually called, but the fact is that you can go all the way from a farmer, and you can go all the way to the Lord of the land, the Emperor of the land. And that's a really cool gameplay mechanic. But the thing with that is that it's very different, it's very different. It adds an amazing amount of things, and that's perfectly fine, for some people that might be a little bit too in-depth though. And that's where Gekokujo comes in, because even if you're not a big fan of the, you know, Japan setting, which I am. I'm a big fan of the Japan setting. I think it's really cool that we have, you know, all kinds of different armors and different, you know, places to go and, you know, all that sort of thing. I think that's really nice. And if you just think about it, going back to my original point, I was talking about how Gekokujo is really innovative, and with the exception of, you know, Nova Eaters and things that change gameplay fundamentally by giving you, you know, extra choices in the character select, like Purisno does, you know, a whole new world to explore, like Purisno and Pendor do, you know, that sort of thing. And apart from that, obviously Gekokujo has the siege mechanic. And now, obviously, I've spoken about the siege mechanic in previous episodes, but I thought I'd just touch on it again, just because, you know, the gate mechanic is also something that I wanted to speak about in terms of it being innovative. And I don't know of any other mod, I mean, I'm sure there is probably one or a couple, maybe, that have the proximity, shall we say, proximity detection of enemy units against the gate. But for the most part, it's all done with hitting it. So for example, Warsword Conquest, I believe Warsword Conquest, you do hit the gate. I don't actually want to get killed here, so I'm going to try and just avoid extra damage, but I need to be a bit careful as well. I'm going to try and shoot this guy if I can. There we go, take that guy out, thank you very much. Please don't get shot, Bruce, that would not be very nice. I should probably call him Shogun Beartilde again, shouldn't I? Because technically he is... Well, is he really? No, he's not really. He's more of the daimyo, isn't he? So maybe we should make him the daimyo of the Beartilde Shogunate or something. But yeah, anyway, as I was saying, Warsword Conquest has the sort of hitting mechanic and the hit points of the gate and everything, and that's perfectly fine. You know, that's usable. That is absolutely usable. As I do not kill one of my own units, just ignore that. Just absolutely ignore that. Yeah, nothing happened. They're all fine. Everyone's fine. No, of course, I'm just playing around. But yeah, you know, they have the HP and all of that sort of thing. And Gekokujo has something completely different with the proximity. And I don't know whether I'm just talking about it way too much. Maybe I am. I'm probably talking about it way too much, aren't I? But I'm just saying that Gekokujo is really innovative in its ideas. Because when I first started playing in one of the earlier versions, you know, it had the sort of standard siege mechanics. You know, it was just, you know, build the ladders and go up on the walls as far as I'm aware, and that was basically it, you know. But it was with sort of like the newer tile sets, I believe. I think it had the newer tile sets at least. But in the next version, there was such a dramatic difference because you had these constantly moving mobile sieges for you to partake in. And it was just insane because you would start at the very outside of the town or the castle or whatever, and you'd go over a bridge if there was a river, and then you'd get into the main doors. You wouldn't have to actually destroy the main doors or anything like that. I'm sure there's an option, actually. I think there is an option in this Gekokujo version to disable the gates, but I personally quite like them. But anyway, and you can go into the courtyard, and this is in the old version, obviously. You can go into the courtyard and you can start killing enemy units. You can start killing enemy units straight away. And I was blown away by this, you know, 3 or 4 years ago, because this had never been done before, as far as I'm aware. And that was just insane. That was really, really cool. To see such innovation so quickly, that was really, really nice. I think, did I actually just say something about I don't even know. I'm not taking credit for that, to be honest, because, you know, Marty probably was thinking about that from the get-go, because I don't even know what the siege mechanics of the Japanese in this century were all about. I have no idea, so obviously I'm not going to comment on that. But I just think that was really amazing how, you know, he just came up with this thing, and, you know, maybe there were some other people that were doing a similar thing, but the way that he implemented it was just so effortless and pretty much flawless, to be honest, because as soon as he implemented it, there were literally no bugs, very, very few bugs in actual fact, probably like one bug, you know, that bug where the units get stuck behind some of the geometry, but other than that, it's really not, you know, it's really not a big deal. Okay, so I'm going to be deferring appointment of a lord here, and I'm actually not going to be plundering. Am I going to plunder it, actually? I think I might, actually. Should I plunder it? You know that if I plunder it, I will get 5,200. That's actually pretty good, isn't it? That is pretty good. Plunder it and spoil. Okay, that's the thing. If I plunder it, I'm going to lose honor. And that's not very good. See, here's the thing. I don't particularly want to make one of our companions a vassal, with the exception of Nagako, perhaps, because she's really good. She's a very, very good warrior. I'm not entirely sure just yet, because obviously I'm going to have to get them some leadership. I think I'm going to have to get them some leadership. And if I decide to plunder this, I'm not going to plunder it. I'm actually going to give it to myself. And that's the main reason. I was just deciding whether I should give it to myself or not. Because if I, give it to myself and then plunder it, it's basically, kind of shooting myself in the foot, basically. So I didn't really want to do that, did I? No, that would have been an absolutely terrible idea. But at the very least, we do have some pretty decent defenders here, so I'm quite happy about that. So we have 92 of our forces available for battle. Well, that's I guess that's okay. I'm going to be placing some of these guys in the prisoners' hold as well. And I think I'm going to be waiting here for some time. There is most likely going to be some people coming over here and, deciding, this is very, very poorly defended, isn't it? Ah, there we go. Hello. Hello, Lord Ishikawa. Oh no. Oh my, I have a bad feeling about this. I do. I have a very bad feeling about this. But maybe I have a good feeling as well. Who knows? Okay, so I gained some right to rule. Now what I'm going to do, before they head inside here, which I actually think they're about to, just really, really close to actually heading in here, so a bit worried about that. But what I'm going to do is I'm just going to level these guys up. Probably should get some Weapon Master soon enough as well for them. I actually find it really difficult to level up units that don't have a clear archetype, because some of them have much more intelligence, some of them have much more agility, strength, etc. And it's really difficult for me sometimes to kind of figure out what I'm going to do with them. But it seems like with this, maybe not so much. Okay, so we are going to be speccing into leadership with Nagako here, because she's probably going to be our first vassal, I think. It just makes sense. I think it makes sense, to be honest, because she already had one in leadership, and I don't know, she just seems to have some pretty decent skills. Obviously, she is really, really good in terms of fighting, so I'm hoping that it's going to kind of carry over to some of her forces. I mean, that's not how it works, but, role-playing stuff. Anyway, let's go for some more agility here. And I think, what am I going to do? Some more Power Strike, I suppose. I'm not particularly pleased about the Power Strike, to be honest, but I really want her to be able to do extreme damage with that polearm that she's using. Wait a minute. Yeah, I want her to use that. I don't really want her to use the pike. Or do I? Do I want her to use the pike? I'm not entirely sure. That's actually really nice too. Is that actually better? No, that's not actually better. Okay, well, anyway. Should I give her a one-handed weapon? Nah, I'm not going to give her a one-handed weapon. I don't think that's necessary. But yeah, Konosuke has returned. Maybe he's going to become a vassal as well. I do seem to recall that he became one of our vassals in the previous, very old series of Gekokujo, so who knows? Maybe he's going to become something. Anyway, let's have a look here and see what they're going to do. Now, these are the 3 vassals that I saw at Hirosaki. Yeah, I actually got that name correct. Oh, fantastic. Okay. I was just thinking to myself, yes, I probably mispronounced that. Well, I probably did mispronounce it, but I was thinking that I may have gotten the name completely wrong. But no, it seems fine. Okay, so we have 168 against the enemy's 415. We have a battle advantage of -4. I'm actually very worried about this because you know how it is. When you're outnumbered this severely, it's more than likely that the enemy is just going to be able to outnumber you, and it doesn't matter, what kind of quality your units are, they're just going to get completely destroyed by numbers, and that's going to be really sad to see. So I very much hope that we will not have a situation like that. I'm going to head in there as quickly as I can. I'm thinking, should I try and just use my pike a little bit? Yeah, I guess I'm going to use my pike against this guy. Yeah, there we go. Take that. Yes. Yeah, okay. Oh, not so good. Not so good, yeah. Not so good. Okay, so I'm just going to have to use this a little bit more. It's really quite unfortunate, though, that this weapon is okay, you know? It's actually really good. Like, I like it a lot, but it doesn't have as much damage as I would like, because it seems to take multiple hits to kill people if you don't actually use the overhead, so that's a bit of a shame. But obviously the armor that the enemies are wearing are obviously pretty good, so it's obviously going to deflect some of the damage, which, yeah, it's fine. It's understandable that that's going to be the case. Anyway, it seems like they're actually sending in most of their skirmishers, which is really nice, because the skirmishers are actually pretty decent archery units, and I don't really want to be dealing with those, do I? I don't really want to run out there and deal with them, do I? So, yeah, I'm just going to try and eliminate as many of the samurai units that come in here. Lord Ishikawa himself has been eliminated. Wait, didn't we kill him? Didn't we kill Lord Ishikawa before? No, I think we just actually saw him or something, but I thought we actually killed him on the fields of battle, but I could be incorrect. Maybe I did that off screen, and I just literally got killed by a banner carrier. Didn't I? I'm really sad about that, actually. I am really sad about dying against a banner carrier. I was about to say a barrier carrier. Yes, fantastic. Yeah, well, as you can see, that's exactly what I meant. That is exactly what I meant. We were able to hold ourselves from the first wave, but now not so much. Now not so much. So how are the enemies doing? Well, that's the thing. What I could do is technically I could probably retreat, and that might give us a little bit of extra time. But the thing is, if I'm not on the fields of battle right now, I'm not going to be doing that much. I'm basically going to just, you know, rely on our units solely to deal damage. And I'm actually really worried about that, because even though our forces might actually be pretty decent at what they do, they're not going to be amazing, are they? No, they're not going to be too amazing, so it really depends. It really depends how this goes. I mean, as you can see, most of the enemy's units are samurai units for the most part, and most of them are using polearms, actually, so we might have a bit of an advantage in that respect. But bear in mind that I actually took the Jimon monk warriors, and I didn't take anyone that uses swords, so that's a bit worrying, because if those guys, you know, if the Jimon monk warriors, if they actually get closed in on and they're in close quarters combat for the most part, then obviously it's going to end up being an absolute farce, and they're probably going to die very easily. So, a bit worried about that, I gotta say. Oh well. They seem to actually be doing a pretty decent job so far. Oh no, there we go. There's some of them dying. Yeah, I think what I'm going to have to do is I'm going to have to retreat here, because we just don't have the numbers to have this kind of war of attrition style gameplay against the enemy in this respect. So I think we're going to have to retreat, and then what we'll do is we'll rest up a little bit, and then we'll see whether they want to continue the attack, which they probably will, but at the very least I will then be alive. So let's just see what happens here. It seems like we're actually doing an exceptional job at keeping them at bay right now. I'm very, very surprised at this. Oh, it seems like everything's going a little bit better than I anticipated. I really thought that we would have severe problems with dealing with this wave here, but it seems like we're keeping them really, really nicely away from the center of the town, so that's really good. And I think I'm actually going to retreat soon. I am going to retreat soon. I don't think it's a question of if, but it's a question of when. Because, oh no, Francisco got killed. Yeah, I really should have retreated beforehand, because obviously Francisco, he is our medic, and I really did not want him to die, because we need to restore ourselves very, very quickly. Alright, so now that our guys are going to be charging over the bridge here, I think I'm going to be retreating. We lost another 8 Uma Yumis, which is really sad, but we did kill 161, which is actually really nice. So, oh, we're actually forced into the battle. That's really sad. That is actually really sad. I was anticipating us to at least be able to restore ourselves a little bit. I thought we might get, not the benefit of the doubt, but sort of the benefit of the defense, because obviously if we're retreating, that doesn't really make sense, does it? You know, if the defense is retreating, it doesn't really make sense. But anyway, I'm very, very much hoping that I'll be able to stay alive a little bit longer this time, just a little bit longer. I don't want to survive the entirety of the siege, or I would love to. Don't get me wrong about that. I would absolutely love to, but I don't think that that's going to happen. So let's see, what can I do here? I need to be really careful because these guys can hit you through the gate as far as I'm aware, so you need to be a little bit cautious about that, but I'm just going to be very, very careful. Oh my, okay, these guys have very, very large poles, don't they? Yes, very large poles. There's a perversion for you. Alright, so let's just continue killing them, shall we? Come on, take them down. Take them down, thank you very much. Okay, so as long as we stay alive, I think we have a really, really good shot of doing this and actually winning. Can you imagine? Can you imagine winning this? I don't think I... Oh, no. I don't think I can imagine winning this, actually. Not now, anyway. Now I'm sad. Now I'm really sad. Oh, well. Okay, so I guess this is going to end up being a bit of a loss, isn't it? It's going to end up being a bit of a loss. Or is it? Because obviously we do have... that's the thing. They're going to send in their bigger and better units as time goes on. Well, I'm a bit sad now. Well, what can you do? I mean, I did get killed by one of their higher tier units, so I suppose it's not as embarrassing as being killed by one of their archers, which is what I usually do, so... Oh well. Yeah, seems like that's a loss. Well, that's unfortunate, but at the very least, we have eliminated the main garrison in this castle, and we'll be able to return very easily and take it back. So, I thank you very much for watching, and I will see you next time.